I've been thinking a lot lately about how we treat each other and why we seem to have this default of choosing fear and cruelty and anger and hatred. And I've also been thinking a lot about specifically how we treat, how we exclude, how we really just completely hold on the outskirts of society anyone who doesn't look the way we want them to look, doesn't behave the way we want them to behave, doesn't do anything that we want them to do, that doesn't actually impact us in any real way. And I get that we are hardwired to love beautiful things, to be drawn to certain features in each other. I get that. It's an evolutionary thing. I understand. But we, in every other way, like to behave like we have risen above nature. Like we now have control over it. We have dominion over this planet. So if we have all of that power, then why can't we also choose to rise above this instinct to judge each other based on our appearances, to be afraid of someone who doesn't look like anyone we've seen before, doesn't behave like anyone we've seen before, and instead of fearing them, embrace them and welcome them? I have been fat my whole life, pretty much. There were few early years that are exceptions to that rule. If you look at pictures of me when I was a kid, I look completely normal, healthy, adorable even. Um, but then around the age of 7 and up, you see me start to pack on the pounds. Like in school pictures, I can see it happening. My face starts to get fuller and fuller and fuller. Um, and like most like most fat people, I grew up ashamed of that and blamed myself for having some moral failing, some character weakness that made me unable to exert the same kind of sorry. I haven't slept a lot lately. That's a whole other story. I couldn't exert the same willpower that other people seem to be able to. Um, and I hated myself for it. And I've only just very recently started to see that it wasn't weakness, it was strength. My fat is my strength. And I know that sounds bonkers, but let me walk you through this. And then if you'd like to argue with me after that none of that is logical or reasonable, I mean, go for it. If you're just trolling, I'm not going to reply. But if you want to have an actual discussion, I'll get into it. Um, at 6 years old, after telling telling my mother, and then her subsequently telling my father that his father had been molesting me for as long as I could remember, and them not doing anything, Like, nothing changed. I was told to, like, not sit on his lap anymore and not tell my grandmother anything, and then just left to fend for myself at 6 years old. So, I mean, obviously, I was not aware of how brilliant this was at the time, but now I can see, in hindsight, I really was a clever little kid, because I realized that every time I saw a depiction of a girl or a woman who was supposed to be attractive, especially to men, she had a certain look to her, and fat wasn't it. So I started eating a lot. And then I think at some point it turned into comfort, because it did feel like it was keeping me safe, A. And B, I had this void in me and this anger, and I needed something to soothe it. And whatever, I don't know what chemicals in your brain get released when you're eating like really good food, but, or just comfort food. Anyways, so it became a comfort thing. Started, my fat was my armor. And then it became comforting as well. And then it became my way of trying to end my pain permanently. Once I like really understood all of the health implications, and like for a while in college, I was able to get pretty healthy. Like, I rode for all 4 years. I rode crew. And I was fit. Like, for me, I was strong, and I had never weighed less in my life. Like, not since I was probably 11. But I still had like the rolls of fat and the saggy skin, and I was never gonna, according to society anyways, look good in a bikini. And I knew that. I had been fat for way too long. I was never, my skin wasn't gonna have a chance to bounce back. But during those 4 years, I learned a lot about health, a lot about nutrition, a lot about how to exercise well. I got really devoted to it, became an athlete, and still I had a setback after I had a back issue, like over a dozen years ago now, I think. And it like kind of triggered a bit of the depression. So I started gaining the weight back, and I think part of it was I also didn't feel as strong. Like, I felt immobilized, I felt weak, and like I wouldn't be able to defend myself if someone came for me. And I had vowed to myself to never ever be a victim of sexual assault again, ever. I will fight to the death, guaranteed. And I've been tested. I haven't had to kill anyone, but I did push a dude to the ground and make all of his friends laugh at him. It was really satisfying. Yeah, that's a whole other story. But I know I'll fight to the death, and I didn't feel like I could. And so the weight started coming back on. And then when the depression became worse, it became knowing everything I did about health and nutrition. I mean, the amount of butter and cheese and salt and sugar and every other kind of fat I could get my hands on. I was trying to clog my arteries. I was trying to trigger an early heart attack. I wanted to die. I had wanted to die since I was 12. And it was how I was trying to die. It was slow burning suicide. I was walking around actively trying to kill myself. Or not walking around so much, really sitting on the couch actively trying to kill myself, shoving terrible food in my face. And at this point, it's hard to break that pattern. I love myself now, finally, for the first time in my life. So I'm hoping that as I get better and better and understand myself and my own strength better and better, and I'm able to actually use my willpower, which I've discovered I can do when I'm feeling good, which is bonkers. I didn't know I had willpower until my heavy depression lifted. It's so easy to tell someone to just take better care of themselves, or to just stop being so weak, or to just stop shoveling a bag of Cheetos into your mouth in one sitting, or like killing a pint of Ben and Jerry's, or so much better. So much better. I'm a vegan now, so my arteries are screaming with thanks. But if you haven't felt like you needed to make yourself invisible in order to stay safe, and fat people in this society are invisible unless we're punchlines, let's be honest. The only time y'all see us is when you want to make fun of us. It's awesome. Thanks. Yeah, that's really going to help people. I can't speak for all fat people, and I know that some, it's a genetic thing. There's millions of reasons why people might be fat, and some people might be very, very happy to be, and I love you for it. I don't know how you find the strength to love yourself so much in the face of so much hate for just living in your body. I aspire to be like you. I am working on it. It's fucking hard, and you are a badass in my opinion. I've spent my life feeling overlooked and unimportant, and like nothing about me mattered. I was always every guy's friend, but never someone anyone wanted to be with. And I realize now, like, I did it to myself, but I did it because no one else would protect me, and I needed something to keep me safe. I had nothing else. And instead of seeing the brilliance in that, instead of seeing the strength in that, instead of recognizing that there was so much pain that went into every fucking pound, instead of seeing that as resilience and an overwhelming strength, instead of seeing the beauty in that, the world is constantly telling me I'm a failure for that, telling me I'm not worthy, telling me I don't deserve the same good things that everyone else does. I don't deserve the same love that everyone else does. I don't deserve the same opportunities that everyone else does. It's one of the last taboos that everyone's still pretty fine with. Like, the fat jokes are constant. The way we look down on fat people, it's just everywhere. I finally finished Killing Eve, and it's a fucking amazing show. I am not knocking it down. I love brilliant. It's brilliant. And on every level, it's so good. Oh my god. But there was this one scene where Eve was talking, I can't remember this dude's name, one of the other, like, I think he was one of the journalists she was collaborating with, and she made some comment about how he just needed to exert willpower to, like, not eat another thing, like not eat more junk food or whatever. I clearly am not remembering the details right now. But the way it was framed, it was very evident that at least this character sees fat people as people who are just lacking in some kind of strength, or I don't know. We are pathetic in some way. And that's just fucking painful, especially from, I know it wasn't directed, that comment wasn't directed towards a woman in that scene. It was directed towards a man. But it's still delivering to every fat person this message that they deserve to be on the outskirts of society because they have some sort of moral failing. And it's a feminist as fuck show. I mean, it's it's about a lot of horrible shit, so like, this character is not an angel. Yeah. I don't know how to begin talking about that show without giving too much away, because it builds. Anyways. What was I? It was so casual and it's so common. And I know I used to, like, hear that stuff all the time, and it would hurt, but I never really let myself think about it, because every time I did, it just made me feel worse about myself. So I'd feel the pain and just accept it and move on. And now I feel the pain and I don't know. I've spent my life, really, almost my entire life, since I was a teenager, advocating for other groups, for other people who are kept on the outskirts, who are treated poorly in a lot of different ways. I've always wanted to support anyone who had been made to feel like they don't matter, or that they are in some way less valuable than anyone else. Most of the time, I am doing that from the position of an ally, not as a direct member of that group. I mean, I do that too. I advocate for women. I advocate for disabilities. I do a lot of that too, but overwhelmingly it's been for groups that I will never belong to. And where are those people showing up for me? I know I'm a white woman. I know I have a lot of privilege, but I also have a lot of pain, and my pain matters too. And my pain is shared by people of every race, of every gender, of every age, of everything. There are a lot of us out there. This is a really big group of people who are constantly being shamed and torn down and made fun of by society so casually. If you disdain us so much and you really want us to be healthy because you care about that, because it's going to be better for you in some way, you won't have to look at our ugly bodies anymore, then stop shaming us and start supporting us so maybe we don't keep staying in these horrible cycles of depression. Again, I'm not talking for every fat person out there, but this is true, I am guessing, for a lot of us, that there are reasons, like poverty, for example. Poverty, this, everything about this country is awesome. Okay, I think I have ranted long enough on this, and you get the point. I really wish we could start looking deeper, start paying attention to the things that matter about someone, to the things that a person knowingly chooses, to the way people treat other people. Let's value that. Let's support each other when we're in pain instead of making it worse. How is that helping any of us? It's just pain begets pain begets pain, and we keep lashing out. Okay, all right. Gonna stop now. Good night.